Hey guys, and welcome to a startup guide for Conan Exiles. This is going to be super quick, so basically, once you start going down the path that you spawn on, there are going to be a bunch of stones on the ground, there are going to be a bunch of sticks, and there are going to be bushes. So the stones and the sticks are obvious, but the bushes will give you plant fibers as well as handfuls of insects. And the insects are actually going to be your primary food source for the near future until you level up and you're able to get a cooking fire. So basically the plant fibers are going to let you create armor, which is really just coarse fabric, but that'll automatically equip. So just get enough of that until you have full armor on. And there's no specific amount of stuff you need to pick up from the ground. But I would recommend putting your first couple of attribute points into vitality, just because the armor isn't going to be very good. So you're going to take a lot of damage from things that attack you, so having the extra health is going to be very useful. So you're going to be going down this path and see this ginormous bat-looking thing. Don't worry about it. It's not going to attack you. It might have a roll later on. Spoiler alert. But you're also going to see this body that's up on this pedestal, and you can choose to interact with it if you want to, and it'll just basically read you out a journal, but you guys can do that on your own time. I didn't want to have that going while I tried to do this voiceover. So this path is just for preliminary things, and you're eventually going to get into this oasis looking area, but just go ahead and craft a pickaxe and a torch as well. The torch is mostly just for if it hits nightfall. It's nice to have it. It'll keep stuff from attacking you, but the pickaxe will let you collect stone from a rock source. But go ahead and drag the handfuls of insects into your hotbar, and that'll allow you to eat them, and it'll give you a little bit of extra hunger resistance, so to speak. So just spam that. It really doesn't do much individually, but you'll get a bunch of them just from collecting plant fibers. So as you're nearing the end of the path, there'll be this gap in between the rocks, and that'll bring you out to this oasis area. So you don't need to keep picking stuff off the ground. It's actually slower. Since you now have a pickaxe, you're good to go to just farm directly from the source. But if you get attacked by one of these little dudes, don't freak out. Your pickaxe is sufficient to manage to kill him. They're super weak and absolutely hideous. But you do need to worry about anything larger than this guy. But once he's dead, just go ahead and mine his body with the pickaxe. It'll give you some feral flesh. Don't eat it. It's really low quality meat. And just some hide for later. And do not go near any of the NPC humans. They will kick your butt because you don't currently have actual weapons yet. And same with the really big armored guy. Don't go near him either. A pickaxe really doesn't do enough damage, and they're going to wreck you because your armor sucks. But once you have actual weapons, though, you'll be good to fight those guys on a 1v1 basis. So you go ahead, whack the big stones with your pickaxe. It'll give you a lot more than just picking up loose stones on the ground. And although it's not an actual axe for wood chopping, until you have that unlocked, it's actually perfectly fine to just use your pickaxe on trees. It'll just give you a little more bark than you would get if you were using a proper axe, but it's still faster than trying to pick up sticks on the ground, so it's preferable. And it'll give you full out pieces of wood that you can use for crafting. So just make sure you don't aggro these guys out there, and basically just look out for them. And if your pickaxe breaks, just drag it in your inventory, hit repair, drag it back. Or if you have the materials in the inventory, you can actually just hit the button on your hotbar and it'll automatically repair it. So that's also an option for you. And this is what happens if you aggro one of the human NPCs before you've leveled up sufficiently to be able to unlock the sword and shield. This pickaxe is just not going to do enough damage, and these guys are dual wielding, and your only option is to just stand here and really just, well, you die. Or you can try running away, but they hold aggro for a really long distance, so just try not to aggro them. So since you don't have a bedroll that saves your spawn location, you're basically going to die and respawn in a random place. And quick tip, I thought this would be great for getting food. Don't try to attack one of these antelope guys with a pickaxe. It doesn't do enough damage and they're really fast to run away, and you really won't be able to kill them. Plus, you don't have any way of cooking meat yet, and there's no point in trying to get a bunch of meat you're not going to be able to cook because you can't eat it raw or you get food poisoning. So as far as leveling up, I chose to put a little bit more into strength so I could hit a bit harder. But over here, I would recommend unlocking Apprentice Craftsman, which gives you everything that you saw on the right there. Or you could unlock the Stonemason if you just wanted to get everything to make a house. But this will give you a stone hatchet, fiber bedroll, and twine. And it's also a precursor for everything you see there highlighted in green. But it does not unlock everything highlighted green. It only unlocks the hatchet, the bedroll, and the twine. And the twine is needed to make the bedroll. So just go ahead, craft the axe for wood chopping, craft enough twine in order to make the bedroll itself. And then once you have that, you'll be able to save your spawn location just in case you do accidentally aggro something and wind up dying, which isn't that big of a deal. But since I had the bedroll, I needed to be able to place it down in a house, so I decided to unlock the Apprentice Stonemason, which will give me access to the foundation, the wall, the ceiling, door frame, as well as the door. And then I'll be able to have a shelter. So I wanted to just have it somewhere pretty-ish, not that it particularly matters when you're just starting out. So I was just going to have it overlooking the water, but then I ran into the problem of I didn't want to get super close to the big armored guy. So just to be super safe, I figured, why not go for a swim? And there aren't like boogeymen in the water, so you typically don't need to worry about swimming through the water, and you have plenty of breath, so you don't need to worry about drowning unless you're being really stupid and you're just swimming around at the bottom. Plus, you can always peek back up for more air, but you're typically fine to just swim, don't worry about it. So I figured this was a decent enough location. But to start off with the house, you're going to need to craft some foundations, which just basically use wood and stone. So that'll automatically pop in your hotbar if you have room. And once it's in your hotbar, you can actually just hit whatever key it is to place it, and then if you have sufficient materials, you can just hit it again and craft from there. But place your bedroll down on the foundation, and you need to interact with it to actually set the spawn point. If you just set it down, it's not going to do anything. And it won't save the spawn point. So just go ahead and keep collecting more resources because you need to finish building the house, because you're going to need additional foundations as well as walls and ceiling tiles as well. So I'm just going to go ahead here and make a 3x2 house. You can make it larger if you have time and you don't have an urgent need for shelter, because this is basically just going to be a war with doing things that gain you experience. That way you can level up and unlock more things that you need. So you're going to be, once you finish like building a small house, you're still not going to have enough experience to unlock the things you need. So your choices are to keep collecting resources and keep crafting, or keep doing combat or a combination thereof in order to level up. So again, broke my pickaxe. I'm just going to drag that in my inventory again, click repair, and then drag it back into my hotbar. And since I already have the foundation tiles in my hotbar, I can actually just click the key that they're set to, and it'll automatically craft it without me having to open up my inventory itself. But since I don't have the door frame and everything there, I'm just going to craft it within the inventory because I only need one of them. And I'm just going to stick it down in the middle facing the water, because why not? And the cool thing about Conan is it actually lets you know the direction in which you're placing down each tile, which I think is an improvement over Ark Survival Evolved, for instance, because sometimes it can be a little hard to tell which direction you're placing things in. So I just crafted a bunch of twine there to make the door. I'm going to drag that in my hotbar and stick it into the door frame, and then from here I'm just going to need enough walls and ceiling tiles to fill this in. And it's going to be a little bit claustrophobic, to be honest, if you only make it one tile tall. So if you have time and you're not about to get attacked or anything, you could make it 2 tiles tall, which is just going to make it look better. Plus you'll get the extra experience from crafting as well as getting the resources. Plus, honestly, after you build this initial house, you might choose to move to a better location later on, since it doesn't actually take that long to build a little tiny house, but you'll probably wind up rebuilding or renovating and making it larger. The goal here is basically just going to be to level up. So tiles down, nice and easy, got the ceiling on. All the snap points are really easy. It's not hard to get things to snap. Also, I feel like that's a almost slight improvement over Arc initially, so it's looking pretty good so far for being very early access. And just gonna come over here and craft the remaining couple of ceiling tiles. And there we go, have a complete shelter. I mean, it's kind of bare bones, but it works. So now that we have some points, we have some options. Do we want to be able to have a stone sword and a shield, or do we want to have the ability to carry water with us and cook raw meat into cooked meat in a campfire? And I decided to go with the weapons just because I think that would be better for being able to level up, as well as you do need it as a precursor for further weaponry. Plus, I mean, let's be real, it's fun to be able to fight, and pickaxe is not doing it as a weapon. And I just threw another point in the strength. You really don't need to copy my point distribution. I would just really recommend putting like 2 points in the vitality initially for when you don't have any weapons yet, and then after that, I mean, it's kind of up to you what you want to do. In general, I think I'd recommend encumbrance just for your weight when you're starting off. Vitality and strength would be good initial ones. So try not to aggro multiple of these guys at once, because you'll probably die, but one at a time when you're starting off on full health is not a big deal. And it takes a little bit of time, actually, to get the hang of it, because it actually takes a while to lift the shield up. It's not an instant thing. Also, the shields break super quickly, so make sure you have the materials in your inventory to be able to recraft them. So I just, since it's bound to 2, I just hit 2 and it automatically repaired it for me, which was nice. And since that guy was possibly within aggro range, I waited for him to walk away and then went over to mine the body, which gave me savory flesh, which is an improvement over the feral flesh of a little tiny ugly dude. Since I don't have a campfire unlocked yet, which you might choose to unlock, that's perfectly fine. I'd recommend cooking, obviously, the savory flesh over the feral flesh. It's just going to give you more food. Trying not to get hit by those ground pounds, by the way. If you see there, I'm at like less than a quarter health after that fight, and that was after I waited for my health to fully regen. And if you see, I'm at about 1/4 of my water, so if you just walk into the water, not like super deep, but deep enough, and you hit E, or whatever you have your interact key bound to, and just hit it a couple times until your water is full, that's basically how you drink. So as long as you're not in an area where there's no water, you really don't need the water skin if you're just staying near an oasis. And if you need to clear out your inventory, you can either just drag the item you're trying to drop over the drop key, or you can just select it and then hit O, and that'll automatically drop the entire stack. So I just continued to kill these guys just to try to get some more experience, which was honestly, I feel like the default server settings, you gain experience kind of slowly. So if you're somewhat impatient and you want to really get going, you might choose to play on a server that has greater experience percent gains. So once you have a sword and a shield, you're actually good to go fight the NPC humans one-on-one. Since they're dual wielding, just be sure to time your blocks decently well, but your sword hits really hard. Plus I had 2 points in the strength, so I was hitting harder per hit. And I went to loot them. He didn't have anything. Surprise, he's literally practically naked. But if you mine them, you get hide, which is kind of amusing since they're human, and you also get human flesh. So if you want to be a cannibal, you can go ahead and do that, I suppose. But don't eat it raw. As you see here, I got food poisoning, so this will keep you from starving to death, but it also decreases your health ever so slightly. So if you're in a super dire situation, you can just weigh that option, but in general, just stick with the bugs until you have the campfire set up. So now I decided to stick a point into encumbrance just to increase my weight, because I was having problems with carrying too much. I'm at like 90% weight capacity. But I could have chosen to unlock the bow and arrow, but there isn't any particular reason for it. I also don't need more types of weaponry. The sword's fine. So since I'm having so much problem with carrying around resources, I decided to spend 2 points to unlock the wooden box that I can then stick into my house and just plop everything that I'm hoarding in, because a lot of the materials that we're currently getting we can't use yet in crafting because we haven't leveled up to learn the recipe, but it's still good to have and to keep on hand, so you're going to want to do that. And additionally, a cool thing about this, just to help you with your hoarding, is after you craft an item, the finished product of the item weighs less than the raw materials, so you can craft while you're out collecting, and just craft into the item you intend on making, and then it'll allow you to stay out longer because for some reason the finished product weighs less than the materials. And once again, Conan's really good about letting you know the direction in which you're placing things, so you won't accidentally place a box that opens up backwards. That wouldn't matter, but it's more aesthetically pleasing to have it this way. So just stick everything that's, I guess, not combat related or resource collecting related, so anything you don't imminently need, you can just place it into the box. So this is just basically how to start out in Conan. I really hope you guys enjoyed, so please subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you in the next one.